Where do you want us to look?
We're going to look there. We're all going to wave.
Okay.
Come on, Walter. You got to wave. Hey, everybody. We're here back again for on SFA News Live at the Fancy Food Show. With me, I've got two of the smartest people that I know. Walter Robb needs no introduction. Gave a great talk yesterday at the Leadership Awards. And Hassan, did I say that right?
You said that perfectly.
Okay, great. With 40 plus years in the industry. We're going to talk about two major things. One is food waste, and Walter and Haas are involved in that. Walter's going to take the lead. And then I'm going to ask both these geniuses to talk about the future of food, where we're going, not only here at the Fancy Food Show, but certainly beyond that, where technology is bringing us, where food is bringing us. We've heard a lot over the past day and a half from a lot of the new products that are coming out of there, a lot of the incubators, what they're looking for, but these are the guys who actually are doing it. So let's start with Food Maven. What's Food Maven? What's it all about? And why are you involved?
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So you had your coffee this morning, didn't you? All right. Well, Food Maven is this fantastic little company. It's based in Colorado Springs, so it's primarily focused on Denver, Colorado Springs. But I believe very quickly you'll be seeing it move, to different metros in the United States. Essentially, here's the deal, Phil. It is a sustainable, scalable business model that works on food waste. We're very good at producing food. We're pretty good at eating it, as we can see right here today. But we're not so good really on the back end of the system. And as a result, about 40% of the food produced in the United States is wasted in some way, form, or fashion. About a third of the food, in landfills are food. And a lot of this is probably with the supply and demand when food is produced and there's no market for it, so where does it go? So Food Maven is based on this combination of old school pickup and logistics with new era technology and data to create a market for this food and value and use for the product. So.
And what's so important about this is what we're talking about food that perhaps a producer mislabeled. Or we're talking about food that maybe somebody ordered, then they didn't need it. So it's right. Food that's packaged, and then on Food Maven's website, you can go there, and then you could look at all the specs on that product. When it was made, if it's frozen, if it's fresh, and then restaurants, food service operators can actually buy it at a 50% discount from what the normal price was. Now, this is not spoiled food. It's not out-of-code food.
That's
it's
exactly
just,
right.
I wouldn't
it's food
say
food that the system doesn't have a system for.
It's like extra food.
It's like extra. So let me give you an example. In Denver, so Whole Foods, let's say a pallet of butter lettuce ships into the Whole Foods DC. Okay, and it gets kicked, what we call kicked, which is rejected because it's too small or whatever. But where does it go? Well, by the time you ship it back to the grower, they don't want it back, and they're not set up to deal with it. And so there it sits, and right now there's nowhere for it to go but the landfill. So what Food Maven has done is stepped in and created a place where it can be received, taken off the growers, so it doesn't have to go back to the grower. They make a market for it, as you say in the food service business, that they get a good price on something. The grower gets something back for their work, and Food Maven picks up a cut to be able to make all that happen. So it's a win-win-win solution that actually has the potential to handle at scale the type of food waste, the food extra stuff. Because food waste is really, it's the overproduction of food, it's the mislabeling food. These are the key categories where there's a lot of inefficiency in the system right now. As a grocer, we used to have stuff at the end of the day at the food bar. The team members would get upset about that, goes to the health department, says you can't do much with it. But we're talking about something much, much larger than this. Perfectly good food that just has nowhere to go.
Well, and I think what's important is to your point, when we think about food waste, we think about what's left on the plate at a restaurant or at home.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a small percentage of what we're doing.
That's right.
And there's not much you can do with that.
That's right.
I mean, if you're a chef, a good chef at home, you can reuse something before it goes bad. Yeah. But again, we're talking tiny bit. What you're talking about is bigger. And also, let's not forget, we have a huge problem with recycling and landfills.
That's right.
Because China's new regulations are eliminating us exporting to China. So that means that a lot of the recycling centers and the landfills are just piling up and piling up. So it's going to get worse. It's not going to get better.
Well, we've never been able to deal with this logistically before because it is complicated. It's difficult.
Yeah.
But now that we have the technology to be able to move so much faster, to communicate so much faster, and for people to be able to look and see what's available where. And then you use the old-fashioned logistics to move it around, but it's the technology that enables this to happen in real time. And part of what has created this is we live in an American culture. People go into the grocery store. It doesn't matter if it's 10 to 10 on Friday night before you close. They want to see bread. Yep. They want to see fresh produce. They want to see everything that they would get if they came in at 10:30 in the morning. And that's what retailers provide for them, because that's an American culture. If you go to Europe, you go even into a major supermarket chain,
empty. Yes.
It's empty by that time. You should have come in the morning if you wanted fresh bread. So we've created this problem. So this is a solution on how to deal with some of that.
Haas brings up a good point, because I remember I used to arrange with farmers. They would come to the back door and I would put it out. But the farmers would show up some of the times, and then and that stuff starts to stink. After a day, it's not very. So that's not a system that you can actually say that we're going to really solve this. This is a real problem that really needs to be, and I think Food Maven's going to address it.
Yeah, no, I do too. Back to your point. As we focus on food waste, and Food Maven is doing it, other companies are trying to use different ingredients so that they don't go to waste. Should we be educating consumers a little bit more to what you're talking about, that this American model of fully stocked shelves 24 hours a day, should we be educating people that...
That's a tough thing to change.
It's very tough.
I don't think you're going to change it now. And in fact, if you look at the trends of things, they're going the opposite way. If you look at the ability to be able to buy what you want online,
and get it delivered
when
in 10
you want
minutes.
it, and get it delivered right away, society is moving in the opposite direction. It's really hard, as Walter knows, from having tried to educate people for the last 40 years about health and organics and good eating. It's come a long way, got a lot of traction. Whole Foods is a big leader in making that happen, but it is an uphill struggle. And I think you're going to have a really hard time educating people to accept that they can't get what they want when they want it.
Okay, so
I wouldn't want to bet on that.
One more question about technology, and then I want to look into your brains about the future. With this delivery model, and I'm not going to ask you because of your situation with Whole Foods and Amazon, but with this situation of delivery in 10 minutes for food stuff, are we at risk of even more waste happening?
Well, it depends. It depends if we really get the perishable food into that system. Right now, it's still pretty much, you can buy perishables, but it's tiny. Most of what people are buying is packaged goods,
canned food,
grocery products,
protein
that are
bars,
canned. So if we really get into fresh product where produce, meat, seafood, stuff that's got a short shelf life starts to get into that delivery system,
we might have
a problem. What's going to come is there's going to have to be a distribution model that works for fresh food if you're going to be able to buy food online.
And will blockchain solve all that?
It's an interesting question. I will say what I'm hearing from customers is, with many of these meal kit solutions, is that the packaging waste is huge.
Absolutely.
And then what happens is they get the 3 meals, but they don't really feel like having the second and the third. Or I think, to Haas's point, what clearly customers want is options. They want the whole continuum of options, whether they want to order on their phone, or that's going to continue. And in fact, it's only going to expand. There's probably others we haven't thought of, but everything between their home and back to their home is going to happen. It's not happening very efficiently right now. Those business models are challenged, the waste is challenged, and the food waste is challenging. So I think, but it's going to keep evolving. I think the question will be, how does it evolve and how will that all happen? But the blockchain is certainly it's an encouraging technology that suggests that these things can happen more efficiently. So we'll just have to see how it's so early innings for that.
It's so early.
It's so early innings,
even though it gets so much publicity and everybody pays attention to it, if you look at how much business is being done, it's very small yet. So the upside is huge. And that a very significant amount of resources, both financial and brain power, is being put behind trying to solve
these issues.
Yeah, but if you are in retail, I was at the NRF show last weekend at the Javits, and the technology was the theme that dominated that. And you have robotics already, not only in the distribution centers, but in the grocery stores now, taking out of stocks and facilitating and helping that conversation with the customer. And you have AI, and you have VR. These are actually happening in retail right now.
And if you look at Schnucks, Schnucks is experimenting with a robot. I forgot what it's called.
Yeah.
But it actually is one of these robots on wheels that looks like a little, white bubble thing.
Yeah.
A robot that looks like a robot.
R2D2.
R2D2. And if you're looking for a product, it will bring you to that product. And if it sees an out of stock, it will actually send a message for an out of stock.
That's right.
I think it's going to freak out a lot of people, and I also think a lot of kids are going to play with it. But in talking about the future, look into your crystal ball, Haas. Why don't you go first? And what do you see the future of food, whether it's here at the Fancy Food Show, food in general, where are we going?
Well, there's two different things. First of all, there's what people eat, okay? We're not going back. Okay, if you look at the last 40 years, there's been a transformation.
I'm not going to buy macaroni and cheese with 50 ingredients
No,
in it.
That's still around, though. That sells like hell, man.
It's still around, but in terms of the trends and what people are looking for and where they're going, we're not going to go back, right? We're not going to go back to people smoking a pack of cigarettes a day and having 3 martini lunches.
Right.
This health thing, and when you look at the issues that people have, not just in America, but growing around the world, diabetes, other health issues.
A lot more than just obesity.
That can be dealt with through diet and exercise. That's not the trend, that is the future, and we're going to get there. How long it's going to take? I believe it's going to speed up as the generations move on. You know, you look at the generations that's there, and the young generation that's going to be shopping and eating for the next 40, 50 years, how they're eating, what they're buying, and what their kids are getting. You can just see how that's going to impact where we're going in the future. So that's going to continue. That's not going anywhere. We've seen over the last 10, 15 years that the price has shrunk. The price differential between the heavily packaged, commercially produced food and the healthier alternatives has shrunk. Real food is a great way to put it. That's shrunk. That's going to continue to shrink. Okay, so that piece is going to happen, but the other piece is what's going to happen with the delivery system. You know, how far are we going to go with people sitting at home and ordering? How much people's lives going to get prescribed by their computer and their 4 walls? I don't believe it's going to take over. I think it's an overreaction that people have to think that everybody's going to be buying everything online, because we're human beings, and human beings need interaction. When you look at just real quickly, when you look at like a coffee shop, right? Why are there 1,000 coffee shops in every city today? It's not because people need to drink more coffee. It's because they need to get out, interact with other human beings, be a part of the community that they live in. And food is sort of the non-discriminating, non-ethnic, it doesn't discriminate between anybody. Everybody eats and everybody goes to get food. And it's the central marketplace, has been since mankind started, right? And I think that's going to continue.
So to that point, I mean, my concern, and I agree with you, I think that the delivery is overblown. My concern is food, and we could feel it here. This is passion.
Yeah.
And not only having a human being that you can talk to, the butcher who can tell you everything, but we want to touch it, we want to feel it. I think, we're going into automatic replenishment, so my smart refrigerator, my smart cupboard, that's going to deliver the toilet paper, the paper towels, the bottled water, all the stuff that is unemotional.
Right.
But when it comes to the emotionality of food, walking into a produce department and those aromas and so on, I don't think that'll ever go away, and I hope not.
I think that'll get better and better.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
realize that.
Could you get rid of all the
going to
other
get stronger and stronger.
Don't you realize there will be a Whole Foods Market refrigerator? Whole Foods will partner with Samsung.
Absolutely.
So you can buy the appliance store. You're going to go there and have a choice. Do you want this refrigerator? So the food selection from Whole Foods will be available to you through that modality. But I would just say, to complement Haas's comments, that, I mean, this business after World War II is a very boring business. This is,
it was
frozen
not cool.
foods.
It was not cool.
We're cool. This is it, man.
Now
we're cool.
Yeah,
this and you mentioned the passion that you can feel all around us as we're talking now. But think about the way food has just exploded, not just in terms of the variety of food that you can get, the ingenuity. We had elderberry guy last night,
yes,
who, by the way, said this great line, human connection is not going away anytime soon.
Yeah.
But you have all these choices, but you have all these different ways in which you can enjoy food. You have a new appreciation for what it means to sit down and have a meal together. And what, that time that represents. You have a new appreciation for the way in which food can influence the community or the environment or the world. It becomes it's the Trojan horse for a lot of other types of change in the world. So I think we're at this pivot point, like I mentioned last night in my talk, that it's a pretty darn exciting time to be in this business right now. The potential to create change is phenomenal. And will we embrace it? Will we grab it? Will we
better.
Somebody will.
We better.
There are entrepreneurs out there who are going to use this as an opportunity to say, building on what you just said, let me imagine what the food experience of the future is going to be like. I don't need a 50,000 square foot store, 30,000 square foot of it taken up with aisles, with canned
and boxes
packaged
and
goods
unemotional things.
That can get delivered from a warehouse directly. How do I reimagine what that consumer is looking for when they come in my store, looking for fresh food, looking for that passion, that enthusiasm? I don't know, but I can guarantee that the entrepreneurs of the future, that's what they're going to be addressing, how to create the future, not take the old grocery store and just put it through the ringer and do one more version.
It compliments to what you guys are doing with this. This was a show that had a certain narrow guardrails, and it seems like you've really exploded past that now, and there's some wonderful companies here. So
Well, thank you both for joining me. Thank you for
it's a pleasure.
Decades of great work, and thank you for the decades to come of how you're going to lead this industry. Thank you
very much, Phil.
Great to see you.
Thank you very much.
Hey,
appreciate you having us.
Good to meet you.
Good to see you.
We'll be right back with more right here on SFA News Live.